I just finished a little funeral service for my dog, Peanut, where I put a ribbon and a feather and a flower that I found in my yard on her grave. And today has been a very interesting day all around. It woke me up with like knowingness of something about to transpire. Just found this on the ground. This is a really cool feather. And when I was just saying a little poem for my dog, who's in the ground, it sort of struck me. I was thinking about how I can't really even envision her. There's a lot of gnats out today. I can't even really envision her in the ground like rigor mortis style, even though I just saw her in rigor mortis because she was sitting overnight before we found her. But I can't even envision her now if I try to visualize her in the box, in the ground. She still looks healthy and just peacefully asleep in my mind. Pretty day out today. And I was thinking about how the causes that add up to make a body start to decompose and become like rigor mortis. Maybe I'll put the phone down here. And hopefully the gnats won't eat me too bad. And hopefully you can see me still, or hear me still well enough, even if I'm standing back here. But the causes that make it to where a body starts to go into rigor mortis it's like it was the same body just some hours prior. And now that exact same body with all its parts still intact are decaying immediately upon death. And why is that? That's due to stagnancy. Immediately upon stagnancy, decay begins to happen. Rot begins to happen. Once water comes to a standstill, immediately upon that, it begins to putrefy, in a sense. Even if it's just sitting in your house in a clean area, in a clean cup, you can taste that water the next day, and it tastes off. Like dust has accumulated. Things are happening in the water. And then, in that sense, it's not even stagnant. Really, it's like once the life leaves the body, once the movement stops from the inside, a new movement in life begins immediately. Some kind of stagnancy takes hold, and then the life of rot, the life of decay, begins its process then. It's never really dead. There's something happening all of the time. But I was thinking about just the fact that like stagnancy equals death, or death can't happen without stagnancy, or like true decay. You know, true decay and then renewal. Whatever grows out from that decay, out from that rot, can't happen without first stagnancy happening. So stagnancy can't happen without death. Death can't happen without stagnancy. And I just thought about this because a lot of times in my life and with everybody, there's times that you feel really stagnant, and that's what I've been feeling these past few weeks, really stagnant. Nothing's moving. Everything's just sitting still, and it feels like a type of death, or it feels like something putrefying, something rotting, something decaying. And in those times, it's like in my head, I'm like, nothing's moving, nothing's happening. It feels awful. It feels disgusting in a way, even. And I was like, death can't happen without stagnancy first. Or decay can't happen without stagnancy first. So in those stagnant periods of your life, it's like, what's really happening is a brand new process, and one that feels disgusting, and one that feels like something's decaying inside of you, and it feels awful because decay and rot feel and look and smell and taste disgusting, right? And that is what's happening inside of you. Something's rotting away. But that just implies like a new process becoming, a new process happening. Because the decay is also a life in and of itself. And it's blooming. Something's blooming. The algae's blooming. The mold is blooming. The mushrooms are blooming. And then out from all that, obviously new life comes. And that's, an old tale everybody knows. It's from death comes life, from life comes death. But I'm not even talking about that part, what comes after. I'm talking about the decay itself. And how crucial stagnancy is to that process of decay happening. If there's something inside of you that needs to die, it needs stagnancy in order to provide the container for it to die, for it to rot away. It needs stagnancy. Stagnancy is crucial to that process. And it's all just sort of coming together in my head right now, because I always felt like stagnancy is worthless in a way. Like those periods of my life where I do feel stagnant and I feel like nothing's happening and I feel like disgusting and rotting. It's like, well, what's doing the rotting? What is it that needed that stagnancy in order to rot? What was the thing inside of me that didn't wake up this morning? And that needs a stagnant period in order for it to fully decay and sink into the soil of my mind and body and soul and whatever. My dog, Peanut, it's her name, she didn't wake up this morning. And so her body needs that stagnancy in order for that new process to begin, to take that body away. My dad's friend Larry was here this morning. He came this morning to meet my dad so they could go to work together. And I went out and I was like, sorry, it's going to be a little while actually, because we just found my dog. She had died. We need to, clean up the room. We need to put her in a box and we need to dig a hole. And he said, oh, Peanut shed her shell this morning, huh? She shed her shell this morning. The shell became stagnant so that something else could happen, a new process could begin. And that process feels revolting, but that process is necessary for that shell to be shed. Or it really is just beautiful in and of itself. And that's what happened, is I watched them as they dug that hole. My dad's friend Larry with a pickaxe cutting through the Rocky Mountain clay, and my dad with his shovel digging the hole wider. And it didn't take them that long. It took them a lot shorter of a time than I thought it would take. And in that short period of time, it's like, how quick was that? We found her, she's dead, and now she's in the ground. The stagnant period wasn't all that long. Something else is happening now. Things are eating away at her. And that shell was shed, and we put her right into the ground, and now she's back part into that whole environment and ecosystem which she came from and she grew up on, and here she is. And she took from it, and she took her whole life long. She took from the earth gave to her so that she could live. And now it's something else's turn. And now her shell was shed. And there's a stagnant moment in between those two processes. And the stagnancy needs to be there for that decay and that new thing to take hold and unfold. And it's a beautiful thing in and of itself. And I watched it all come together in that moment, in that ecosystem, like the life and the death and the struggle and the stagnancy and the decay. And they left for work, and I'm here doing a little funeral for her. And I'm trying to deal with my own stuff too, that's like, where does that all fit in to the process of like life being taken as well? Because as you can see when I just panned my phone around, I live on a pretty little piece of land out in the woods. I live somewhere where a dog can be found dead and can be put in the ground in that same hour. I can do that. I can dig a hole in the ground and put the death right back into the earth. And not many people can do that anymore. What do they do when they find their dog dead? Where do they bury the dog? Where do they take the death to get it out of the house in order for that stagnancy to create new life? And all around me, down the road, right outside of my little paradise of a plot, the roads that I grew up on, the land that I grew up around, is being bulldozed to put concrete down for more cardboard houses and storage facilities and parking lots. And the places that I sat with my friends while we made up and we broke up and we had fights and we got drunk and we did drugs and we figured out what the fuck was going on because we're teenagers and we don't know what the fuck is happening in life. And here it is, and we're sitting here in the woods and we're looking at the lake and we're watching the sunset while we're on a picnic blanket, and we snuck out of the house, and here it is. It's life all happening, and beneath us is thousands upon thousands or millions of layers of dirt and death and life, and the animals that grew up in these woods, and they died there, and their bones were scattered, and layer upon layer it grew right down into the earth's core. And they were friends with the people of that time, those animals and the dogs, and I find their jaw bones in the ground when I go on a walk in the forest, you know? And I'm like, whose dog was this? What life did they live? Who's gonna find the bones of my dog's jaw? You know, and maybe nobody, because by the time that she's decayed, there'll be concrete over this land. There's all these layers of life happening for all of history, all of time, and we're putting a lid over it. A rich man has decided to just put a ceiling on that decay, and a ceiling on top of the mass grave of the earth, so that there can't be any more graves, and there can't be any more dogs buried. And there can't be any more stagnancy even. And there can't be any more life from death. It's just a new lid on top of the container of the earth that he put there to make more money. And what do I do? Because that doesn't feel like a natural process of life and death anymore. It feels like murder. Because they're clear cutting away all the old growth trees and paving up the creeks and destroying the homes of all the animals, and they don't leave a single bug alive. So they can put another Walmart or something. Everything's gone. Everything's dead. It wasn't natural death. It was a murder. And what do I do about that? Because I can learn to accept life and death. But am I supposed to learn to accept murder? Or am I supposed to fight back against that? Is that a new form of stagnancy? The kind that I've been fighting back against inside my own body whenever I feel stagnant, whenever I feel disgusted by that stagnancy because it feels wrong. It feels like I'm supposed to either be moving forward, progressing, or at least like helping out with the process, some kind of active association with the whole process. But stagnancy isn't active, it's still, you know? I mean, it's active under the surface. I guess that's my whole point this whole time. It's something's happening. But for the participant, it doesn't feel that way. And is this concrete lid over the graveyard of the earth just another form of stagnancy that I need to learn how to accept and I need to learn how to see the beauty inside of? Will I regret not fighting the process? Or will I regret fighting the process? You know, like 50 years from now, well, I think I wish I had protested. I wish I had stood up for something to fight the process of them pouring the concrete, fight the process of them cutting down these woods. Or will I be happy that I went ahead and learned how to work with that stagnancy and work with the murder and work with the pain and the disgust? Just a new type of decay that I'm not used to. A quicker decay. And eventually, when we're long gone, the concrete will also be eaten right back up by more trees. That's true. I just don't get to be around to see it. And maybe that's the part that pisses me off so much. And it's like the ones that miss it the most, that want to keep around their beloved forest, are the ones that also have to lay the brick to cover it up because they can't afford not to. They need the work. They have to be the ones to cut down the trees that their children grew up in. Because somebody else wants the power and somebody else wants the money for it. So is the concrete lid just a new type of stagnancy to work with and to respect in a way? Not to respect because you want more of it, but just to respect because there it is and there's nothing you can do about it. And maybe it's like its own type of container to keep safe the graveyard underneath, and then eventually when that headstone of concrete honestly gets broken through, a new tree will grow out of that, and we'll be long gone, and we'll be the bones that maybe something else will find. It's like the concrete's the headstone. It's like a mausoleum. I never understood mausoleums because I thought, don't you want to go right back into the earth, and don't you want to be part of the whole process of life and death? Why do you want to be preserved in this stone structure of a castle inside of a graveyard that is just stuck, standing still, stagnant? And now it's duplexes, and now it's storage facilities that are the mausoleums. But eventually those mausoleums will too be destroyed. and it all will. And it's more just my own human empathy and desires to see beauty that makes it so hard to accept the stagnant nature of over progression of the human ambition. So it might kill me in the process, but maybe, that's okay too. I don't know what to do yet, but I'm sure if I get quiet enough inside, I can figure it out. R.I.P. Peanut. You shed your shell this morning. Fly high.